G'day guys, welcome back to this week's fishing report. Let's get straight into what has been biting around Sydney last week. So the bream have been biting under boat holes because of the clear water. Clear soft plastics have been the key, using as light of a jig head as you can, casting them under the boat holes into the current, have been producing a lot of bream, particularly in the port hacking. Flathead have still been on the chew, even though it's late May, early June. They're still on the chew at the moment, especially around La Perouse and Towra in the Botany Bay. People have been using lots of soft plastics. Curly tail grubs and flick baity style soft plastics have been the key in around 4 to 5 meters of water. If you're more of a bait fisherman, I would suggest to head towards La Perouse, where there's been lots of flathead caught around La Perouse, around the sandy flats there, using pilchards and prawns as bait. Heading out offshore, there's been some really good snapper caught over the weekend. We've had some really good conditions to head out offshore and have a fish, particularly in the afternoon. I fished both morning sessions with some nice snapper being caught, nothing over 50 centimeters, a couple 40s here and there, but still some really good fish. But on Sunday afternoon, a mate of mine went for a fish down south to a few reefs down south of Sydney and managed to finish with 4 to 5 snapper over that 60 centimeter mark, all on soft plastics, all on those Daiwa jerk shad style soft plastics. So the snapper seemed to be on the chew in nice and shallow. I was fishing inside 25 meters the whole time, consistently catching snapper. They just weren't as big as some other ones, and especially that afternoon at the moment seems to be really good for the snapper. Moving on to the weather for the weekend. Now, the weather for the weekend is pretty much the exact opposite to what we have seen previously. We have quite a strong southerly both days, with some rain about on Saturday and Sunday. So if we're planning to go for a fish, maybe Saturday morning might be the one window that is really conducive to go fishing. But unfortunately, going out offshore for me won't be on the cards because the swell is too big. So my plan for the weekend, based upon the fishing weather report at the moment, it may change come Friday, but my plan is to go and target some bream and estuary perch around the structures of the Port Hacking River for early Saturday morning. If we go look into a little bit more detail, when we look at it, we've got a nice southerly on Saturday morning, picking up to around about 35 to 40 k's an hour throughout the day, and then Sunday should be blowing about 35 to 40 k's an hour from the south all weekend. So from about 10 o'clock on Saturday morning to Monday morning, we're going to have a pretty strong southerly. And like I've said in previous videos, those southerly winds are really strong, and typically they'll be blowing at the predicted speed. If you're going out for a fish anytime over the weekend, I would suggest to hang to the southern ends or the southern sides of your fishing areas. So if we're talking Botany Bay, we're hanging to the southern side, so the Towra side, the Warrenora side of the Georges River, the Como, Oatley side of the Georges River, just to protect yourself out of that wind and make your fishing conditions a bit nicer and a bit easier to fish with. Down the Port Hacking, any side of the national park, down on the national park side of the river, should be a really good spots to be able to be, one, protected out of the wind, and two, hopefully find a few fish. So plans for the weekend, like I said before, going to be targeting estuary perch and bream. Going to be using very small, lightly weighted soft plastics and a few shallow diving hard bodies, depending on the structure that I'm at. If I'm fishing over maybe a rock bar, I'm probably going to be using more of a hard body style lure. If I'm fishing under boat holes, I might move towards more of a soft plastic to let it sink that little bit deeper under those boat holes. But that's the plan for me for Saturday morning. If I was going for a fish anytime out of that, I would definitely be going towards maybe Sunday afternoon. Sunday afternoon looks really good with some nice tide changes, particularly is what we're looking at. We've got a beautiful hot running tide in the afternoon, both days at 4 o'clock on a Saturday and 5 o'clock on a Sunday. So if we're thinking about going for a fish and you're willing to be able to deal with the wind and go out fishing in the strong southerlies, yeah, definitely that afternoon on either day will be really good. The reason why I'm picking the Saturday morning rather than the Saturday afternoon is mainly because of the wind and the wind factor. When I'm trying to fish really light soft plastics, you need wind to be at a lower speed, so something below 25 k's. Once it gets above that, it can be quite hard to fish, especially really lightweight soft plastics. So because I'm going to go for estuary perch and bream, I'm going to be aiming for that morning purely because of only the wind. We've got some nice tides as well in the morning as well. So if you're more of a morning person, yeah, definitely head out and have a fish. But again, bit of a warning over the weekend. There is a southerly. The southerlies this time of year do normally blow quite strong. So if they're going to blow at 35 k's an hour, it's probably going to blow 35 to 40 to 45 k's an hour. So maybe the Botany Bay region may not be the most smartest idea to be able to head out off there. I might head towards more Georges River and the bridges and all that sort of stuff if you're fishing them. Again, if you're fishing, port hacking, any of the southerly sides there should be able to be protected out of it and just to be that little bit safer over the weekend. Moving on to the topic of the week. Topic of the week is launching at boat ramps. If you haven't seen it on social media and you're not part of many fishing forums, there's been a few people, unfortunately, have had their boats and car slipping off the ramp into the water and sinking their cars along with their trailer there. So very unfortunate. Feel very bad for those people that have lost their car, but just thought I'd mention a few things around boat safety, around boat ramps, and obviously car safety as well. So biggest thing is before you launch the boat and once your boat is ready to go down the ramp is to go walk over and have a look at the ramp, have a look to see what it is like, see if there's any big logs that have been swept onto the ramp. Is it slippery because we're at low tide and we got really, really exposed parts of the ramp that are very, very slippery at low tide? Or is it a high tide and we need to worry about more like rubble and stuff like that might have been pushed along? So that's the first step, especially when I'm launching every single time. Whether I've launched this ramp for 100 times, I always have a quick little walk down to the ramp, just have a quick 30-second walk around the ramp just to make sure that you understand where, if something could happen, where it could happen and why, and how I can actually prevent it. Not saying that the accidents that happened over the weekend were preventable. I wasn't there, so I don't know whether they were preventable, but a lot of these steps that I am advising you guys to do could help you from having that disaster of your car flying into the water and pretty much having to buy a new car. The second thing I would do is once you're back in the car, make sure that you have all the straps off, your bungs in the boat, everything's ready to go. Okay. And now whether you're someone who drives their boat off the trailer or whether they just push it off and then they use a rope to push it to where it needs to sit, whether it be on a wharf or the bank or whatever, however you get your boat off, make sure you understand what you need to do and how you can do that efficiently rather than once it's in the water, oh my God, I haven't put the bung in or I haven't taken the strap off or have I put the water in have I put the trailer in deep enough so I can get the boat off? For me, my trailer is a drive on, drive off style of trailer. So I drive my boat on when I'm coming back and I drive it off the trailer in the morning or whenever I'm going to go fishing. That makes my life a little bit easier. It's a lot more, I guess, safer to be able to have a drive on, drive off trailer. So you're not slipping on the ramp if you're pushing the boat off. It just makes my life just a little bit easier. Making sure that once your trailer is in the water. Now, when I'm backing down my boat, I know how far I need to put my trailer into the water for my boat to be able to easily glide off. So for me, when the guards of the wheels are about halfway into the water, so pretty much the top of the wheels are into the water, I know that is deep enough for my boat to be able to slide off comfortably and for me to drive it off comfortably as well. Same again when I'm putting it back on the boat. I know if I have my guards / the top of my wheels just in the water, that's the perfect height for it to come back onto the trailer. So that's a bit of safety as well, making sure you know how deep you need to go, not burying your trailer in the water and going all the way up to your car. No, you don't need to do that at all, especially when coming off and going on. You just need to make sure you understand and know how deep to put that trailer. So as a general guide, yeah, once the guards of the trailer are submerged in the water, that should be deep enough for the majority of boats that may launch at a ramp. And that's for both taking it on and bringing it off. But again, that can be very dependent on your boat. The more you launch your boat, the more you will understand what depth you actually need to take your trailer to either put your boat on or take your boat off at. The next bit is obviously, it sounds very simple and very easy. Make sure your car's in park. If you've got a manual car, make sure it's in gear and the car's turned off and the handbrake's on. Okay, I know that sounds like a pretty obvious step, but you just never know. Some people leave their car on, leave it in drive, leave it in reverse, all that sort of stuff. Just make sure the car's in park, the ignition is turned off. What I often will do is, instead of take the keys with me in the car, I will often put the keys or leave the keys with another person that I'm fishing with, and they can stay in the car in case something does happen. So if you're with someone, if you're the person that normally drives the boat off, have the other person sit in the car. Just make sure they're in the car ready to go if they need to quickly turn the car on in case it's sliding back or anything like that. Just a little bit of extra safety as well. And same again when you're driving the boat back on, make sure they're in the car, maybe with their foot on the brake just in case that it slips off. Sometimes accidents can happen. They're completely out of your control, and completely understand that. But some of these steps will actually just make your life that much easier, make it more enjoyable to be able to go out fishing. Because in the end, we don't want to be spending a lot of time at the ramp. We want the boat off quickly so we can go fishing as quickly as we can. And when we come back, we want the boat back on the trailer as quickly as can with as little fuss and effort. So, and then obviously finally understanding the ramp. What is the ramp like? Is it traditionally slippery ramps? Port Botany, the foreshore Port Botany ramp is renowned for being a very slippery ramp. And if you're not a confident person at launching at certain ramps, I would definitely stay away from the Port Botany ramp because that's a very slippery ramp. Same with Tower. The Tower ramp on the other side of the bay often is covered in sand at low tide and can be very hard to get your boat back on the trailer, especially at low tide. So if you're thinking about going out in the Bonny Bay region and you're not confident, I would avoid those two ramps until you build a bit of confidence. And then, you can, of course, go use them if you want to. But there's a lot more easier ramps and a lot more safer ramps to use over the weekend. Finally, as you guys can see, I'm wearing Seven Seas Apparel. Don't forget to use code REALFishing10. That's REEL Fishing 10 to save yourself 10% off any of their apparel. They've got some beautiful long sleeve shirts as I'm wearing today. They also have beanies, which I've got right here. Beanies perfect for the winter. They all come in different styles, and they've also got quite a wider range of hoodies, not just for adults, but also for the kids as well. So don't forget, if you're going to go to Seven Seas Apparel, use code REALFishing10 to save yourself 10% off checkout. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you all are planning to go out for the weekend. Like I said, if we're going to plan to go out on the weekend, the safest time to be going out over the weekend, I guess, will be Saturday morning. So if you're out on the water and you see me, don't forget to come over and say hello. I would love to meet some people who are going out over the weekend. That will do it for this week's episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.